So, Devoted ended. For people who weren't able to make it, a lot of folks didn't actually know that Gensokyo had a city. We did. It was called Senkai, and it was down on the southern world border, and I'm going to go ahead and give a tour for it today. The main building here, this massive temple complex, and I mean massive temple complex, this is called Sancai. It's an actual building located in the Saitama Prefecture of Japan. It is a Taoist temple. I believe it was built around the 60s. It was actually designed by a guy who's from China, emigrated into it. It's got an interesting history. I'll post a link to the temple's page. They have a nice translation into English about the history of the building itself. So I tried to replicate this building one for one. I had to scale it up because a lot of the fine details, such as the dragons, or at least the attempt at making dragons wrap around the pillars, just simply wouldn't translate if it was any smaller. So a project that I thought was going to take me maybe a couple of weeks to make ended up taking me a couple of months to make. The whole build, though, once I had it concepted out in this creative server, the actual assembly for it went pretty quickly thanks to the mostly clay mountains the area was surrounded with. I was able to get the supplies and actually build this thing in about a week and a half. I didn't sleep. It was fun. Between that and job hunting while I was making this, it was a good time. So anyways, this is the main structure. A lot of this I took artistic liberties because a lot of the inside of the temple isn't shown because it is an active Taoist temple and they don't really like it when people walk around there with cameras. So really the main courtyard and the gates are allowed for public viewing. I put a little statue of Confucius in here because he's kind of the go-with-the-flow guy. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything better to put back there, and I thought it'd be cool to give him nice little blue eyes. So that was Confucius. The 4 colors that you see displayed around here, the red, the blue, green, and the yellow, that's actually the colors for Feng Shui. So I tried to keep it consistent with that. This building is also used in Touhou 13.5, the fighting game. It's one of the stages of Miko, character I actually have as my skin. So I started doing interior work based on the characters from Touhou because I didn't have anything else to go off of. We had a kitchenette area. This was actually a functioning city. Up here I had the area to make a library, and then books ended up being way too hard to make. So I said screw it and just kind of left it as blank space and was a little disappointed, but happens. Our storage was back here. I didn't mark it. No windows into it, nothing. Surprisingly, we actually did not get raided until like very end of world, so I guess it worked. Just don't put signs on anything. It's an effective method. Nobody wants to sit there and go through 100 or so reinforced chests. This was supposed to be an apothecary room, like an herbal study thing. It kind of worked. I needed to put more flowers in here, but again, too lazy. So in here, this is based off of Segakaku, 4th stage boss from Touhou 13. All these characters are from that game, really. She's kind of a necromancer bitch, to put it lightly, but I like the color scheme, so I just kind of went with it. This is going to be a closet area if anybody needed to move in, but I don't think anybody ever claimed this room while we were using this. Back hallway. Inside of here, we had Kokoro's room, and Yoshika's room should be right across. Yoshika's literally a zombie, so I wanted it to look decrepit with a broken window piece and all that good stuff. That, and it also functioned as an emergency exit. If we were to ever get raided, you could totally crawl through that hole and get out. That was the idea. So this is the main garden, or one of the main gardens. There's 2 gardens, the east and the west garden. The east garden here is also a hot spring, and although I didn't finish doing it here on the creative server, I actually did it on the real server, where I lined this under part here with netherrack, and I'll kind of show you here. So there's a cool trick that I use for building, where I put a flammable block, some flames, and then I put water on top of it, and it actually makes it look like a hot spring. So now that I've got it lit under fire like that, you can see how it steams through. And now it's a hot spring. These were actually filled in game. So that was a neat little fun trick, and this is not the only time I've used this. I have at least one hot spring in all of the towns I've ever designed. Had another garden here. We had it fenced off. We were trying to control the traffic of where people could and couldn't walk. Fences are hardly a deterrent, but they still look aesthetically pleasing. We had a functioning garden in here. I needed cactus for dyeing things for interior, so we ended up putting cactus in here. Made kind of a little rock garden. This is just meant to look nice. So, fun fact about temples. Japan uses a kanji for telling time, and it has sun and the kanji symbol for temple in it. And the reason why they did this is temples were the original clock towers of most Japanese cities. They would mark the hours with a drum and the minutes with a bell. Or something along those lines, or they divided up their time based on bells. So I went ahead and put in a bell, and on the other side is a drum. So that this, if it would actually function in Minecraft, which it won't, would actually be able to mark off time just like a real temple. So I don't think anybody ever got that, why I had a drum and a bell and the two towers on the side. So out to the main city. I took a lot of inspiration from sumie art, the classic art style of Japan, not anime trash actually, and a lot from Japanese mountainscapes, those specific types of drawings. And I tried to keep it with the style of the temple because I wanted everything to look not samey, but I wanted it to all be of the same aesthetic. So I built this bridge. I actually built most of this town. This town took me a very long time to build. I had a lot of help getting resources, but in terms of schematic work, it was me, Numbers, and Yu who did most of the heavy lifting on it. This part here, this humble little building, is only 2 stories tall. This was our train station. And if you go all the way down here, this is also based off of a Toho game. This is a stage 4 from, you guessed it, 13. If you've even tried to guess. I had little Confucius faces in it. I tried to get it to look as close to the stage as possible, and this is our train station. We had a grand total of 2 connections, one to the Octagon on Gensokyo, which was a meme city, and we actually had one that went to Mount Augusta, though I don't know if we ever finished connecting it up. Yeah, so that's the train station. We had public stables, so anybody who rode in on their horse could leave their horse in a safe corner and not have to worry about them wandering off into the water and drowning. I had that happen to my horse, and that's when I made the stables, because I got tired of my horses dying. We had 2 new friend towers, the Izanami and Izanagi towers. This is also based off of Japanese mythology. Izanagi and Izanami no Mikoto were the 2 gods that actually created the world. So I thought it would be interesting to name the towers after them. All the other towers are also named after the Japanese pantheon, but I'm not going to really get into that. If you're interested in that thing, go read up on it. It's actually, Japanese mythology is a hell of a drug. We had public storage so people could decorate their areas. The way that I run towns is I assign an area to you, or you pick out a house, and the exterior has to stay to style. You can make some minor edits, you can add maybe a couple fence posts, put in a garden box, that sort of stuff. Put banners on the outside, but it has to look good and still match the city. The interior of your house, I don't care what the hell you do with it. You want to make it a dirt hut, you want to hollow it out all the way down to bedrock, be my guest. But we had a bunch of building supplies that were stored in this house here, this little pagoda, so people could come in and decorate their houses. A lot of the time we'd get a new friend or somebody who was living here only part-time, and they didn't want to ferry their stuff back and forth across the map, so we would just provide basic building supplies. It wasn't really any big deal. We had a market district, never actually got used. By the time I finished it, the server started dying. People weren't playing as often, so it never really got used, which made me a little bit sad because I actually liked this district a lot. My favorite thing that I did about it was probably the gutters. I'd never actually tried to do something like that, but I'd always wanted to. I wish I would have had a little bit more space here, because I don't like things that are only 1 wide. I think it feels claustrophobic, but I made do. The inside of the roof always looks trippy. Ideally, I really should have scaled this up, but I was on a constraint with the river. I didn't want to go over the river. I didn't want to, like, kill it. I could have technically moved the river, but that's way too autistic even for me. I won't do that. So, this tower never got built. Never got a chance to finish that. Kinda sucked. We had a nice little garden in here. These towers were done. These were, unlike the New Friend towers, which on the inside are divided into half floors, a full resident / citizen would get a whole floor. In Civ Classics right now, the way I've got the houses structured is they're actual houses, so people can have their own basement. The way the towers' basements would end up working is people just shared space. People don't like sharing, so we didn't have a lot of people living in the city, but we do have a pretty good sized population all in all. They just lived all over the place. This bridge, I hated this bridge. I still hate this bridge. This bridge looks like shit, and there's nothing I can do that will ever make it okay. It's at a curve. I shouldn't have tried to build it on a curve. I definitely shouldn't have tried to build it at a 120-degree angle. I don't know what the hell I was thinking. What I should have done instead is not put a road there. But I tried it, and I ended up making this bridge, which I called garbage bridge, trash bridge, dumpster fire bridge, shit bridge, basically any negative connotation word and bridge shoved after it. We had a post office. So Gensokyo was pretty interesting in the fact that we actually changed leaders during Devoted. I'm not sure if anybody really noticed. We had a group that was kind of underground called the Disgruntled Postal Workers. We got tired of our former leader trying to pit us against each other, especially when we realized what was going on. So we just up and left. The entire nation just stood up and moved all of the groups, and it's literally everybody is still in the nation, except for the former leader. Numbers is the new leader, and he's actually doing a good job, so life is good. Our meme signs are all over the place. I don't think we ever actually finished the post office, the Disgruntled post office, but it looks nice. This tower here, I've been wanting to do this build for a while as well. This is actually the 6th stage from Touhou 13. It's technically supposed to be infinitely tall, but ain't no one got time for that shit. So I made it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stories instead. It's considered good luck to have pagodas be odd numbers of floors, so I did that. That and having a 4-story pagoda is just bad juju, even though I've got 3 of them. 4 is not a good number in Asian languages. It's just not. But you could go inside of all of these, climb all the way up. I hand built this tree. That was also not a fun adventure. Although I've got to thank Bonkhill and Programmer Dan for including omnidirectional logs. It's one thing I really missed when we moved to Civ Classic. It's like, crap, I can't make my nice trees anymore. But the view from the top of the roof was spectacular. You could see the whole city and Sancai. I put rice fields as fillers. I thought it was funny. I posted the idea on our Discord and just typed "Welcome to the rice fields, motherfucker," and started building rice fields everywhere. I went a little out of control. This building never gets done. I'm convinced this tower is cursed. Every time I try and build this tower from schematic, the server either closes, or something bad happens, or shit's on fire, and there's no explanation for it. I tried to build it during Civ 3.0, and got into the bullshit with Alon. I hated that shard. Loved how it looked. It was actually pretty, but the leaves not decaying was pure cancer, and prevented me from being able to finish the pagoda. Yep. As a general shout out to the admins, if you guys are watching this, please, 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 set up your worlds, set up your areas with consideration of the builders. We do attract a lot of players. People want to see these buildings. They come to see the buildings, they stay for the gameplay because they end up liking it. Accommodate your builders so we can help advertise for you. We really do want to see your servers thrive, and we'd like to build cool things on them, and it's really hard to do that when your leaves are giving us AIDS. I had a second set of stables. This was more for residents because it was closer to the temple. So now to go on the section that I actually haven't explored yet. We have a long-standing tradition in Gensokyo cities of not only having an inn, but having a thing called Cringe Theater. Cringe Theater started off with me and Numbers watching really bad, I mean awful animes in dub and trying to pick the cringiest thing out. We ended up marathoning the first, 12 episodes of Digimon Frontier in English, and I wanted to die. It was terrible. But we built the first Cringe Theater in Civ Temp on Tet. We were in Galveston, if you didn't know that. Yeah, it was hell. But we made a joke out of building a Cringe Theater in every city. There will be one coming in Civ Classics. It'll be in our main city, not on Roe Island. So, the little yin-yang things with the curtains, that was fun. And I was actually willing to host the end of the world speech here, but I wasn't online for that, and I didn't get to shill from my city. I had to work. Damn, that being a wage cuck thing. This was our inn. I wanted it right next to the Cringe Theater for this iteration, so that if we had guests and they wanted to participate in our antics of using this imaginary theater for watching our shitty shows, they could set their spawn, so if they're AFK killed, they don't actually lose anything. These had beds in them in the actual game, I swear. And we had suites on the very top floor that were reserved for honored guests. So people who were other nation leaders, nice people, people who are good to us. We actually treat people nice to us if they treat us nice. It's a novel concept, especially on Civ genre servers. All right, going up the back. This tower was finished in the game. I just built it from scratch. It was fun. Eyeballing these things is not particularly hard. It was a really easy pattern. It just went andesite, chisel quartz, andesite, and then you do a roof pattern. It was typically 3 or 4 tall, and then you just ended a point. Not a hard build pattern to follow. Anyways, back up the hill. These are called Nbashira. They are traditionally pine or mata, I think is the word for it. But they're sacred pillars, and they're used to mark the dwelling places of gods in Shintoism. Up here is actually a copy of Moria Shrine, also from the Toho series. There's the recent Memories of Phantasm, no, not Memories of Phantasm, Esoteric History featured Moria Shrine. I did not have that nice reference when I built this. I built this from the shitty background image that they had in the game. I would have really loved to have that anime reference when I built this. But it still came out looking okay. These are just the same statue dogs that I had in front of Seitenkyu. The only difference is I recolored them to look more formalized, I guess. A little pond. A Shinto banner, ropes thing. A donation chest with a fuck ton of diamonds inside. Those weren't real. Honest, we didn't have diamonds. We were broke as shit. We didn't mind. I didn't do things other than build. So, the sunflower field is an interesting story. I logged in on a Saturday afternoon. It was like 4 p.m. my time, where I was at. And the only other person who was online at the time was Yuyuko. And so I asked her, while drinking, "Hey, do you want to build a sunflower field?" "Why do you want to build a sunflower field?" "I just want to build a sunflower field. Let's just go for it." So we cranked out a sunflower field in about 4 hours. I know they're all supposed to face the same direction, but I wanted it to be able to look good from any angle that somebody approaches. So if somebody's climbing over the mountains, coming through the snowy area, coming from the town, coming from over where the Octagon is at, I wanted them to be able to see the sunflower field and have it look just as good from any angle, rather than somebody simply approaching from the back and it looking like a bunch of sticks, and approaching from the front and then getting all of the prettiness. So I mixed it up so everybody got a little bit of everything. This waterfall was fun to make, and by fun to make I mean it was not fun. There's a lot of detail that went into the underside of this bridge, and building that while fighting falling damage, and the infinite amounts of skeleton archers that killed me way too many times than I ever want to know. I died probably 30 times just building this bridge alone. I've lost count when it comes to building the whole city. I died a lot to skeleton archers. Again, admins, please be kind to your builders. We advertise for you. We try to keep people online. We try to keep them interested. Don't abuse your builders. Yuyuko had her own personal project. It was up here. It's called New Hiatus, and she wanted to build a floating city by that name. So she did. We got her all of the dirt and the cobble she needed to build these, and the bridges, and everything. This was built in-game. The only thing that we built that we would have liked to have finished is this boat over here. This is the Palanquin. Palanquin's another Toho build. It's basically just a big ship that's followed by UFOs. It's weird. It's cool. The kanji that goes on it is supposed to be treasure, but we picked love because treasure wouldn't fit. That's actually the whole reason, is no matter how I painted the kanji for treasure on the sail, it just looked like ass. So we picked love because it was the next best thing. It's the real greatest treasure. This rod is nothing but a Navy meme. If you're in the Navy, you'll get it. If not, don't worry about it. It's a stupid joke. Yeah, the interior of the ship, this was something that I really wanted to build. I might still build it on Civ Classics because we never built it on any of the servers yet. I've got a lot of markers for what needs to go inside of it. This is generally how I organize a build, is I'll do the shell, and people who are learning how to build will get to build the interior parts of it. I'll give a couple of style guides, put some notes on it, and just let people go nuts. Also, adventure mode is great if you ever get a chance to play with it. Not adventure mode, spectator. Just click through the walls and do whatever you want. Yeah, I didn't really waste a lot of space on the ship. The whole thing gets used. The only thing I really don't think I would look forward to at all building it is making these clouds. I used a random brush in World Edit to do it. Yeah, that would suck. So that's the city of Senkai. It took, all in all, probably about 4 to 5 months of build time out of 3 builders. For folks who like to see how autistic Gensokyo actually is, I will go down to the hole that we got all of the stone to reinforce this with. Yeah, it's kind of sad that we didn't get a whole lot of visitors. Program MC found us pretty early in the map, before I was actually done building Sancai, and he was going to post on the subreddit about the city and tell everybody that we existed, and I asked him not to. And my reasoning is imagine yourself in the position of a cartographer. You want to explore around the world and see what's there and stuff that's undiscovered on a map. Gensokyo had a massive black blotch on the map until we quit. When we said, okay, people who have map data, if you want to upload our section, we don't care anymore. But still, not a whole lot of people went adventuring down here. And I wanted that same magic for people who were doing cartography, exploring the world, getting over that cliffside and just seeing this golden roofed city sprawled out in front of them and just being awestruck for a few minutes and then being able to explore it and have nobody else be around, them kind of wondering to themselves, how has nobody else noticed this place? I still have no idea how nobody else noticed this place. I was surprised that there weren't any posts about it on the sub after we quit. I was surprised that people hadn't gone down there and found it and posted a bunch of pictures, but people were actually really respectful of my request every time somebody would find it. So I'd say, oh, congratulations, you found the city. Please don't tell others so that they can discover it too. And they surprisingly stuck to that. I'm very proud of you, Civ servers. You actually did something not rude. Anyways, so this was a hole that was almost always covered up. It's had a lot of my building supplies in it. Schematica doesn't save anything in chests. So if you're going to use Schematica for being evil, don't. The way we do our world downloads is we download the region the moment we make the claim. So when Gensokyo says we're claiming this area, we probably have it world downloaded and you really shouldn't be building there. And it's not because we're being assholes, it's because that's just how we build. I can't build these things without being able to plan them out with World Edit. So this was our massive hole. It really isn't that spectacular. Our biggest hole, though, was the Octagon, so I'm going to teleport to that, because we still have it. So the Octagon never got finished at all. We had the train station here, and the walls, and that was it. We didn't have that dick, though. I think people came on here and built the dick there because they were bored. That's fine. We'll just leave it. I'm too lazy to kill the dick. This is the only thing that was done. This is our train station. We had a line to MTA and a line to Senkai, and that was it. That was our 2 lines. Nobody else found us. But we kept getting raided at the beginning of the world by Chesh and Silent Creeper and their crew. What a bunch of bullies. So we said fuck it. We staged a bunch of fake buildings on the surface. These weren't any of them. We had one weird diagonal storage unit as a meme to see if I could build something on a diagonal. And for the record, no, you can't. Buildings built on diagonals look like shit. Don't ever try to do them. So we hollowed out underneath the area. We considered making it into a vault, but we wanted to make it into a layered city. It was Crimson's project. He wanted to do it. But we had this huge, massive hole, and this is where all of our stone came from. Yeah, we weren't going to run out anytime soon. But the surface of it was set up so that it looked like a trap. It looked like people were living there, so whenever people would try to raid Gensokyo, they'd come raid the Octagon because it was really, really visible on the map. And this section wasn't mapped out at all. Nobody saw it. But this one was. Everybody knew where the Octagon was. So they'd raid the Octagon and leave Senkai unscathed. It just became a scapegoat. And it worked pretty okay. This was going to be our Imperial Palace. Not super terribly detailed. It's very ornate. I like the roofs. You did the roofs. Me and her did this as a co-op build. We just straight up took the ornamentation off of Sancai and re-skinned it. As you can see, we recycle a lot of things, especially when we're feeling lazy. Inside it, actually had some interior work done. This is pretty nice for the limited space it had. I based this off of the doll displays that are custom in Japan, where you've got like the 2 lords standing in the middle and you've got all their little noble people surrounding them. We didn't do any other interior. Ain't nobody got time for that shit. We never finished this building, which is too bad. We might reuse it for something else later. Who knows? It'll show up eventually. We never don't use a building. Buildings do eventually get used. Yeah, so that's it. We had a trench, then we realized that the trench was too small to actually stop anybody, so we built a wall, and then realized that wouldn't work until we invested a fuck ton of money and stuff into bastions. And again, ain't nobody got time for that shit. It was fun. It was fun while it lasted. Devoted was actually probably one of my favorite ones out of the Civ iterations. Mostly because the stark contrast to 3.0, which we nicknamed Ethiopia Craft. That was a good name for it. Just being able to build shit again. I'll show you our Civ 3.0 world so you can kind of compare and contrast. I was super limited on resources. I only had some stained clay, which we were importing from the desert shard. Fuck, I can't remember what his name was. And wood. And that was it! No sunlight. We had stone. We had some good stones, I guess, that we could get. That was... I fucking hated the server. I was so mad at it. Yeah, that's Ethiopia Craft for you. Artificial sparsity does not lead to game balance. If you never got a chance to check this out, I'll probably do a tour of it. I could speak volumes just on all the little design things that I ended up doing to try and work around these fucking awful trees. But yeah, so that's the tour for another day. I hope you guys enjoyed looking around Senkai and the Octagon, the glorious meme city with 8 stunning sides and 8 glorious angles. And I hope to see you guys all around our Discord. I will be posting links to our recruitment thread. If you have any questions about recruitment or getting a hold of people, you can either PM me. You can get a hold of really anybody in Gensokyo. We're not hard folks to find. It's just nobody ever thinks we're active. Spoiler alert, we're always active. We're just quiet. But yeah, thanks for watching.